our structure, and our standards that we hold ourselves to. My question to you is, how's the market? And let's be honest about what this market requires of us. We can all agree that the market will require a different version of ourselves right now. We're going to need to improve our systems. We're going to need to add some more structure, and we're going to need to raise our standards for today's market. See, good markets, which is what we've had, create bad habits. If you were licensed during the pandemic, you may have developed some bad practices and you didn't even know it. Realtors during good markets tend to take shortcuts and forget how to run their business like a real estate business. Building out lead sources, creating client nurturing systems, and working on their craft. Instead, they simply rely on business coming into them. The great news is, as we enter a tougher market, this will create better agents, but more importantly, it's going to create better business professionals. No more shortcuts. Real business professionals running their business like a real estate business, just like you, generating leads, processing leads into appointments, appointments into contracts. If you give the market your power, you're going to be dead in today's market. The market doesn't dictate your results. You do. And we're here to make some decisions. The decision about how you want your business to be. Are you currently happy with your current production? The decision about marketing. Does your marketing plan generate enough leads for you? The decision about more time. How organized are you in running your business? The decision about getting more leverage. How are you with using your current inventory, your current listings, and getting other listings from that? The decision to remaining relevant in midst of this AI boom that's happening right now. If I was to search your name in AI, would you come up? We need to make the decision about our skills and which ones to improve. Are you practicing your craft? And of course, the last one is the decision to generate and sustain momentum. What happens? What's the plan in handling the growth of your business? My name is Danny Macedo. I work for the last 30 years in the real estate business in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. I've sold anything and everything you can think of, from condo apartments, townhouses, semi-detached homes, single-family homes. I've sold restaurants, commercial buildings, industrial plazas. I've sold a couple of large AAA shopping centers. I've sold land. I even put together two point towers with 220 units in each tower and sold the entire project. Real estate has been my lifeline for the last 30 years. As of recent last 16 years, however, I've been a real estate coach. I have coached well over 12,000 hours of coaching. I have helped hundreds and hundreds of realtors in leveling up their performance, taking them from building the foundation in their business, hiring their first assistant, growing a team, and I've even helped some agents sell their book of business. And I'm here today to share some insight, provide a little bit of knowledge to help you some way, somehow move your business forward. Can we all agree that the business can be challenging at times? And I would say only if you allow it to be. Only if you allow it to be. See, when a butterfly goes from being a caterpillar to a butterfly, it is extremely hard and requires a ton of energy to transform it. Markets like this require commitment to doing that same hard, creating that transformation. Just like it's hard for the butterfly to go from caterpillar to butterfly, putting the energy to transforming itself. The question is, where do you need to put your energy to transform your business? In today's market, the answer really is getting back to basics. That's where your energy should be. So where do we start with this? When you think back the last, let's say, 6 months, Where have you been focusing your attention? Have you been overthinking, perhaps? Maybe overanalyzing, maybe overcomplicating the way you run your business? Are you finding yourself spending way too much time and getting frustrated, let's be honest, and keeping up with all these new trends like AI, lead magnets, landing pages, blogs, videos? See, you don't have a sales problem. You have a prioritization and focus problem. And the answer is simplify, systemize so you can succeed. You don't actually need more. What you need is to remove some stuff. You need less. What can you take off your plate so you can become more successful? I want you to think about that for a second. What is it that's going on right now in your business that you are complicating that you need to remove from your business? It's about focusing on fundamentals, such as your communication skills, your ability to pace and lead a conversation to convert that lead into an appointment. It's focusing on presentation skills, the ability to tell a story. If I was to ask you, what is your craft? What would you say? See, when you look at a hairdresser, their craft is their ability to style and cut hair. If you're looking at a car mechanic, their craft is the ability to analyze your vehicle, figure out the problem, and fix it. For a realtor, what's our craft? And I would argue that our craft as realtors is our ability to bring a buyer and a seller together using words. That's really our craft. So today, we're going to focus on the one most important skill set that every realtor needs to master, the listing presentation, and your ability to deliver a strong listing presentation. And I want to share some ideas, some strategies to help you craft an impactful listing presentation that you are absolutely in love with. And that's the key. So let me ask you, how effective are you on your listing presentation? Now, before you answer that, I'm going to put you in a scenario. Think of this. It is you going on a listing presentation with someone that does not know you. I understand that many of your presentations may be referrals from friends, family, neighbors, and those presentations are a bit different. It's more like they've already trusted you. They already know who you are. They already know they're going to pick you, and you just need the formality per se. I'm going to challenge you and say, how effective is your presentation to an absolute stranger who does not know you, in which you have to now sell yourself to them in front of them? Is your presentation scripted or do you wing it? See, understanding that when you master the delivery of the listing presentation and absolutely know it inside and out, like you're performing on a stage, new opportunities begin to arise. Just like here in the sales flywheel, you build confidence by knowing what to say. That confidence gets you excited in which you want to share this presentation to more people, which then gives you more conversations. More conversations leads to more opportunities. These opportunities lead to more appointments. More appointments lead to contracts, which then leads to closings. And then gives you more confidence to do it all over again. So, what's my objective today? Real simple. One, I'm going to share some best practices for the listing presentation. Share some ideas, some tactics that you can use today. Start right off the bat. Two, I'm going to share with you some insight on how to build a rapport and trust with the seller and then maintain that throughout the presentation. And then lastly, I'm going to share with you the 5 simple questions that every seller has in their mind. This is the listing presentation. All you have to do is just answer those questions. However, if you have an amazing listing presentation right now, I mean, you're absolutely in love with it, you can't wait to show it to people, then I'm going to say just use it. Like it's important that you take ownership of your presentation. And to be quite frank, I'm not sure why you would be here because we're talking about the listing presentation, but I appreciate you being here. However, if you don't have a listing presentation, I'm going to show you a simple one to use where all you have to do is answer the questions and put your little spin to it. So let's get right into it. Let's start with the very, very beginning, the listing process. My question to you is, when does the listing presentation actually begin? The moment you book the appointment. That's right. The moment you book the appointment, you have the client on the phone, you've just booked that appointment. That's when the listing presentation begins. So I want you to write this down if you can. Top of your page, write down the listing process. And step number one is we book the appointment. Doesn't matter how you book the appointment. It could be that you were following up with the lead, follow up, and finally they give you the opportunity and you have the listing presentation, listing appointment booked. It could be someone from your sphere calls you up. Can you help my brother, my sister, because my mom was thinking of selling their home, and you book the appointment that way. It could be you just making your calls, connecting with people, and you talk and you set an appointment with a stranger. It doesn't matter how you book the appointment, but you book the appointment. That's step number one. Step number two then is we need to qualify this appointment. I want you to write that down. Qualify the appointment. Now, it's not disqualify, it's qualify the appointment. The purpose of qualifying the appointment has two folds. One, it's for you to get a clear picture of the client's needs. It's to get an understanding of their goals without question. We need to know why. Why are we doing this? And number two, it's to showcase your professionalism. See, by taking the time to asking these in-depth questions to the seller, it tells the seller that you actually care, making you stand out from all other realtors, making you better prepared. And just a pro tip, please make sure you qualify every appointment. No exceptions. Even your mom's house. When you call mom, you qualify mom. Remember, remember, no more shortcuts. We're raising our standards here. Qualify every single appointment. All right, now we're going to get into what sort of questions can you ask as qualifying questions. Remember, these are open-ended questions to get the client to open up to you. That's the idea behind this. And I know some of these questions may have been asked already during your conversation before booking the appointment. That's okay. Nothing wrong with that. It's just reaffirming those questions. So for example, ask them where they plan on moving to. How soon would they like to be there? Why is it that they're moving there? This is the where, when, and why questions, motivational questions. Very important to have and understand. Next is pricing questions. For example, when I see you, how much would you like to list your home for? Like, I'm being very direct here and asking, what do you want to list the home for? And would you please describe the home for me? And is there anything positive or negative about the home that could affect the price? See, the key here is you're not going to meet with them without having clarity of the price. Remember, we need to know what they want so that you don't get shocked when you're there. The second question, can you please describe the home for me? What that will do for you is that's going to give you the opportunity to allow the consumer to open up and describe their home. And you're going to be able to pick up on what sort of personality style they are. So if answering that question, the client starts giving you a lot of analytics. Hey, we have a 4-bedroom, 2-story home, double car garage. We sit on a 100 by 200 lot. That's a lot of numbers. So I can write down easily that this is an analytical person. At least I know their personality style. If they use a lot of adjectives in the conversation, we have a big, beautiful, and they're very bold in their expression and the way they describe their home, I would say that's an expressive personality. If they're very short with you in their answering, very to the point in giving you their answer, maybe a driver personality. And if they're very much this is a beautiful home. We raised our family. We love our home. It needs a little bit of work, but it was amazing living here. Like they kind of give the pros and the cons of the house. I would say they're an amiable personality. So at least for this person that you're connecting with in this conversation, you're getting an understanding what personality style, and that may help you in your presentation. All right, let's move on. Other important questions to ask. This one's really important. Do you have any specific questions or concerns that you want me to address at our appointment? Now, what this is pulling the objections out. They may say, yeah, what is your commission? What's the length of the listing? What sort of marketing do you do? What's your marketing plan? Like they may go and say that. But the key here is not to answer those questions over the phone. When I ask you what specific questions and concerns you want, I'm going to write it down. I'm going to grab a pen and a paper and I'm just going to write it down because I know those are your objections and I need to handle them at the home. So when you say, yeah, what's your commission? I say, great, the commission. What else? And then that kind of catches them off guard. And like, oh, how about what's the length of your contract? Oh, yeah, the length of the contract. We definitely covered that. What else? So they're just getting the objections up front, not answering them. Another question you can ask is, I've only spoken to you. Are there any other decision makers? Well, let's be honest, folks. It is important that everyone is there for the appointment. This is key to trying to get a contract signed right away. Now, this question here, I'm just going to prepare you for it, it's rather tough. It's basically whether you're going on a listing presentation or a real estate visit. If you ask this question, it's definitely a listing presentation. If you skip this question, you may be just going on a real estate visit. So the question is this: if what I say makes sense and you feel comfortable and confident that I can sell your home, are you planning to fill out the simple paperwork to put your home on the market with me when I come and see you tomorrow at 6? I know, that's a tough question. It's not easy. And for some of you, this is a question that you probably won't ask. But if you do, your success rate will go through the roof. Absolutely. Right? See, in that question, there's a number of embedded commands that will give the, not force, but it's embedded commands in the back of their mind, which would get the client to take some action. And the crazy thing is this: you actually want the client to say no, right? You want to create some doubt. So if they say no, you then in turn say, well, may I ask why? With a kind of a puzzled tone. And this is where the client starts to backpedal a little bit. Like, I don't know who you are. This is the first time we're talking. I may interview other agents. I'm not sure if this is what we're going to do. And that's okay. And what you're going to simply say to them, thank you. Thank you for sharing that with me. Really do appreciate it. Just wanted to make sure that if this is what you wanted to do, there wouldn't be anything holding you back. And they're like, oh, no, nothing's going to hold me back. If everything makes sense, we're ready to go. And that's what we're looking for. All right, let's continue. So in the listing process, we are going to then send them a pre-listing package. So we're off the phone with them. And the reason we're going to send them a pre-listing package is simply to control the narrative. That's the purpose of this. They are going to Google you. And we want to make sure that we are controlling the narrative. So how do you do this? There's a few ways you can do it. Number one, you could simply email them some information, right? Put together a simple email. Hi, Mr. and Mrs. Seller. Thank you very much for your time speaking to me. Looking forward to our meeting at such and such time. Maybe add in there some information about yourself, right? Hey, if you have in the email, you can embed a video, right? Just have an intro video of yourself playing, right? If you have an intro video, this would be a great idea, right? Email that, or talk about your team, right? The different people on your team. Your brokerage, talk about your brokerage, maybe some awards, whatever you feel that's relevant, that's important to you, that you want to share with them. Remember, we're controlling the narrative. Testimonials work really, really well. The second way you can do it is just send them a text. But if that's what you're going to do, if you're going to go to sending them a text, I would suggest doing it as a video version, right? That way they can see you, know you, and start to, be a little bit more impressive than just sending them a text message. But my favorite by far is sending them a personalized landing page, right? I use a company called Cato. It's out of California, great company. And whenever there's a listing presentation, we'll create a simple video, right?
Hey,
With the
Tom and
person's
Kathy, it's
name
Danny
on it.
Macedo here.
We'll put the picture of their house in the background, put their address right here in front of them. And then we have some information that they may be interested in looking at that we feel. And they can just go ahead and just start looking at the information, getting to a real feel for us, right? You can have marketing pieces, whatever you want. You can even have a marketing video in here. We also use net sheets and the CMA, but we lock it. The reason we do that is I'm going to send this before our presentation. Once I meet with the client and present with them, I will then give them a password for them to go ahead and open this up, and all the details will be there. This is a great page because then it becomes like a concierge page for them. As you move forward in the transaction and the client begins to, first of all, sign the paperwork with you, you can actually take that paperwork and put it in here and you can lock the entire page for them. This becomes now anything to do with showings. You can put that information all into their own personal page, right? Now, doesn't matter how you do it. Doesn't matter what this pre-listing package looks like. It really does not matter. The key here is controlling the narrative. They're going to Google you. What do you want them to see? All right, so the listing, we send out the pre-listing package. Next is we prepare for the appointment. We prepare the CMA, and I'm going to throw a little caveat in there. I would suggest go preview the competition. So preparing for the CMA. We all know how to do this, right? We all understand that sold properties indicate the market value, and we want to use that market value. Very, very important, because that's going to be the basis. This is the market value based upon solds. However, active listings indicate market direction. And this is important to also look at, because if you end up listing a property, let's say property sold index show like 500,000, that's what the home is worth. Yet there are 4 or 5 properties in the market now under that 500,000 mark. That's telling us that market direction is going down in this particular pocket. On the flip side is if you have 500,000 as your market value and several properties are listed above that market value, then that tells you market indicators are showing markets going up. And to be very honest, this can vary, like literally neighborhood to neighborhood to neighborhood to neighborhood. So be very specific in your area, in your searches. The other part of it is previewing the competition. I'm not sure if any of you guys do this. It's a great tactic. Just before going to the listing presentation, take some time. Go preview a few of the properties. Take a look at them. Pretend you're the buyer. Just simply book an inspection prior to going to your listing presentation. See, that way the competition is fresh in your mind. You're walking through it, making notes, seeing the house before you walk through your appointment. I highly recommend this if it's possible. And I know for some it's not possible, but this will help you in pricing the home correctly, specifically in today's market. Let's get into the next step. This is the last step in the listing process, and that is show up mentally ready. So what do I mean by that? Well, you park your car in front of the house, take a look at the front door, and you get yourself mentally ready. I want you to visualize. I want you to close your eyes and visualize the perfect outcome. In your mind's eye, you're walking up to the house, knocking on the door, shaking their hand, walking through the house. I want you to visualize sitting at the kitchen table and doing a great listing presentation. Have them sign the listing agreement at your price and at your commission. Then you see yourself walking outside, putting a for sale sign on their lawn, putting a sold rider on the for sale sign, then you're driving away with a $20,000 paycheck. Can you guys see that happening? The crazy thing is your brain does not know the difference between fantasy and reality. When you do that exercise, it believes that this is what it needs to happen. It believes it just happened. And now you're just going into the next appointment. Very powerful to use visualization when it comes to getting the results you want. All right. So, what's my objective today? Was to share with you some tactics before the listing presentation. That's done. Next is how do we build trust, maintain that trust during the presentation? So, when you first walk into the home and you sit down at the kitchen table, you're going to notice that the room's a little tense. Actually, it'll be quite tense. These folks, you may have just showed them some houses and been kidding around, looking at houses. Everything's all fun and loosey-goosey. All of a sudden, they're completely different. Their faces are down, and for good reason. See, for a seller, their home may be the most expensive asset that they own. And we want to make sure that you're well aware that this is a big decision. This home could be tied in to their net worth, could be tied into their lifestyle and possibly retirement when they sell it and downsize. So the decision to sell their home is a very difficult one. And that's why the tension is high in the room. It's not because of you. Our job is to remove that tension and to have the client feel comfortable with everything. So how do we do that? We start by reversing the roles. Let the client do all the talking at the very beginning. Allow them to open up to you. So I want you to write down these questions. We do this by using two open-ended questions and then simply listening to the consumer, listening to the seller. So the first question I would have you write down is, Mr. or Mrs. Seller, what characteristic traits are you looking for in the next realtor you choose? And what I want you to simply do is write down what they say. Just write it down. Grab a pad of paper, grab a pen, and just write it down, whatever they say. And they may say, hey, we want our home sold for top dollar. Okay, selling for top dollar. Okay, what else? Oh, we want an agent that does a lot of marketing and is going to get our home sold. Yep, lots of marketing. Okay, what else? We want them to tell us the truth. Like, don't sugarcoat anything. Like, be upfront and honest with us. Yeah, tell the truth. Yeah, what else? What else? What else? What else? And I'm going to keep saying what else until finally they say, no, I think that's it. We're done. And once they're done, I need you to then read back the list of them. Hey, what you said, you're looking for someone to sell for top dollar, get lots of marketing, and tell us the truth. Is that correct? Yes. What this does, by writing it down, then repeating it back, it is the ultimate form of building trust and rapport with someone. You've taken the time to write this down. Now, if this was enough, we would stop here, but it's not enough. So we need to ask a second question. So write this second question down. What concerns you most about the process of getting the home sold? Now, they're going to, and then let them vent. Let them talk to them. This is an important question. Let them open up to you and write down everything that they say. They may say, well, what about our dog, Ella? Like, we're going to have showings, but what do we do with the dog? Hey, do we need a for sale sign in the lawn? Should we put a lockbox in the property? What happens if we sell this home and we don't end up buying anything? Do we still have to go through with the process? Do I need to call my attorney? Should I call my mortgage broker? And all you're doing is saying, what else? What else? What else? And the key here is to allow them to talk. What else? What else? Now, I'm going to have a list of everything that concerns them. Now, this is not the time to start answering those questions. That's going to throw you off from your presentation. What you simply do is you put it down and you say, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, thank you for sharing that information. I am definitely going to cover it. The truth is, you don't cover it. You don't go over those concerns until after they have signed the contract with you and you have the listing. Prior to that, we just leave it alone, right? We don't divulge our trade secrets. See, you know what to do with the showing with the dog. You understand how to stage the home. You understand the importance of a for sale sign. This is all trade secrets. There's no point in sharing that unless they have signed up the contract with you and they're now ready to work with you. So please allow them to talk, but at the end of the day, this is still your business. And what this is doing for you is the law of reciprocity. The client will reciprocate what was just received. You sat there and listened and wrote down everything. And now they're ready to listen. Now you have their undivided attention. So let's begin the presentation. Now, when you do the presentation, you need to maintain the trust and rapport during the presentation. So remember what I said at the beginning. Our listing presentation is basically 5 most common questions that the seller has, right? And to maintain, what we simply need to do is number 1 is finish each seller question with a final thought. When you do that, when I answer the question, I'll show you how this works. When I answer the question, what we end up doing is validating by using a final thought, and that encourages the seller in the presentation. It validates your professionalism. Now, after a final thought, we want to use, and write this down, is a tie down to gain agreement from the seller, right? Validating what you just said, right? I'll show you how this looks in the presentation itself. So we're doing 2 things to gain trust with the seller. Number 1 is we're using a final thought, and then we're using a tie down to gain their trust and then to move forward. All right, so objective number 2 has been completed. We talked about building trust and maintaining trust. Let's get to the fun. Let's get to the nitty gritty. Let's get to why you guys are here, and that is the listing presentation, right? So the 5 questions on the mind of every seller when it comes to hiring a realtor. And these 5 questions are these. So just write them down. Number 1, why should you hire me to sell your home? Number 2, what am I going to do to sell your home? This is your marketing plan, your marketing strategy. Number 3, what does my office charge for this service? The commission. Number 4, what is your home worth in today's market? Obviously the CMA. And number 5, what is happening in the market? So when it comes to selecting an agent, to be very honest with you, these are the only 5 questions that a homeowner has when it comes to selecting an agent. So your job is simply to put together a visual that will help you answer these 5 questions. And let's get right into it. So question number 1, why should you hire me to sell your home? Now, this is all about you and your team, and you can even throw in there your office if you want to use champions in there without question. So you can use, for example, some testimonials, maybe some reviews, right? You can put in there your experience, how long you've been selling real estate and real estate statistics if you like. Or you can use data, right? Focus mostly on this question, on you and yourself, not marketing and not selling. Now, if you're a newer agent or if you're on a team, use the team information. And if you're a new agent and you're not on a team, then use the office statistics, right? Everyone can do this. You can put in your testimonials, your reviews, your experience, and your data. You can put something together. Now, going back to that final thought, here's the final thought that we're going to use. Mr. and Mrs. Seller, There are two things I can promise you. Number one, I will be the hardest working agent for you. And number two, I will always tell you the truth. Good, bad, or indifferent, you deserve the truth. Here's how the tie down is going to work. Now, having the hardest working realtor and always being told the truth, isn't that what you want from the next realtor you choose? Now, what we're waiting for is a simple reaction, that little head nod. Once we get that little head nod, that little yes, that little agreement from the client, now we can move forward. And this is not hard for all of you. Every single one of you can do this. You can absolutely say that you're going to be the hardest working agent, and you can absolutely tell them that you're always going to tell them the truth. Everyone here on this call can do that. It's just knowing what to say after, which is this. And I hope you guys take a picture or write it down. Having the hardest working realtor, always being told the truth. Isn't that what you want from the next realtor you choose? And you see my head? I'm nodding yes. They're nodding yes. We're in agreement. We move forward. Do not move forward to the next question without having that little head nod. So we jump into the second question. Okay. Question number two. What am I going to do to sell your home? Folks, this is your marketing plan. And you can pick whatever tactics that you want to highlight. There are like 50 different things that we could be doing. So just pick 2 or 3 or 4 of them that make sense to you, right? For example, hey, we're going to customize an ideal buyer profile based upon our data so that we know who our target audience is. This is a benefit to them. Okay. Maybe we're going to use a professional photographer. Maybe we'll use some floor plans. Maybe we're going to do social media ads. Maybe it's YouTube videos. It does not matter what you select, but pick 2 or 3 or 4 tactics that you can speak in volumes to the consumer on why it is a benefit to them. Now, the key here before you move on to your next question would be to use a final thought. Now, the one I like to use is passive marketing versus active marketing. Passive marketing is waiting for the buyers. Active marketing is going out there and finding buyers. So I would say this to the client. I go, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, everything I shared with you today is what we call passive marketing. I am basically waiting for the buyers to come to me. But you hire me to sell your home. And we pride ourselves in active marketing. I spend 2 hours a day, 5 days a week on the phones talking to people. I'm trying to find buyers for the homes I have for sale. And I'm trying to find sellers for the buyers that I'm working with. Now, here's where we go with the tie down. Now, having both a passive and an active approach to marketing your home, isn't that what you want from a marketing plan? And folks, again, we're waiting for that simple head nod before we move on. Once again, yeah, I like this idea, active versus passive. Yeah, okay, great, perfect. Now you move on. And the next one is, what does my office charge for the service? And I really hope you guys noticed that I'm blaming the office. I'm blaming the office. Remember, a listing agreement is not between you and the seller. It's actually between the seller and your office. You are simply a representative of the office. So blame the commission on the office. Plain and simple. Blame the office. And I'm going to share with you about 3 different methods of explaining the commission. Your job really is to decide which method you like to use in your listing presentation, right? It's important to own it. So number 1, what does my fee cover? And in this case, you're not paying for a commission, you're buying a result. And you're explaining, I guess, a little bit more detail what the commission's covering. And you may have the 76 things that you do to get the home sold, and you're showcasing that, hey, we're going to do all of this and we charge X amount. Okay? And it's really that simple. You simply explain everything you do to sell a home. You don't have to go into in-depth like the way we do with the marketing plan. But this is a good time to pull out that, the 80 different things that you do on like one-liners going all the way down. But yeah, we're going to do all this to get your home sold. And we do this for you. Second method would be it's your choice. And some agents use this, and that is they'll do kind of a tiered system where here's my core service for one commission, here's my full marketing for another, but then here's my maximum exposure one. And what you're doing there is you're selling them on the maximum exposure, right? More exposure, more buyers, more competition, better price for you. But that is an option. If you feel that in your marketplace, it's highly competitive and you need to give more than just one commission option, then you can share this one. Again, you're giving the choice to the consumer. And then the third method is the real cost comparison. And you're really going to use this is if you're up against a discounted agent. So what does the fee really buy you? And you're doing a comparison between a discounted agent and a full service like yourself. So it's just simple comparison. That's all this is. All three methods are available. You can use all three if you'd like, if you feel that that's a powerful way to do the presentation, or pick one and run with it. Own it. Because it's important that you do go over the commission. All right, so then the tie down is going to be full service, maximum exposure, and an agent fighting for your price. Doesn't that make sense? The tie down is, doesn't that make sense? Again, we're going to wait for that head nod. Yeah, that makes sense. And then you move on. So question number 4. What is your home worth in today's market? Now, we're going to get into the CMA here. So the first thing is understanding, going back to it, that sold properties indicate market value. So you may take a series of sold properties very similar to the property that's for sale, maybe 4 or 5 or 6 of them, whatever you want to use, and then kind of average out the number. And you want to get as close as possible to the date that you're going there. So the more recent sales, of course. Now, first is to establish the market value using that price point. Let's say 500,000. Then we want to look at the closest competitor. Who is in the marketplace that's the closest to your clients, right? And you need to determine where's the direction going. Because if you're in a marketplace that this neighborhood prices are actually going down, you definitely want to be the best priced home in the area or the second best priced home in the area. Now, even prices going up, I still would say be the best priced home in the area, plain and simple, if you can. Second best is all right. When you start getting down the row, third, fourth, fifth priced home, you're just helping the competition sell their home. So the goal is to be the best priced home in the area. But here's the thing. I don't want to take ownership of the price. I don't want to take ownership of the price. Do not take ownership of the price. So once we determine what market value is, what market direction is, the very next step is to talk about strategy. What are the pricing strategies? Yes, put the onus on the consumer, put the onus on the seller. So they have 3 choices here. Number 1 is they can price their home above that market value, above that 500,000. Maybe it's 510, maybe it's 515, maybe it's 520, whatever it is. So they can price it above market value. Now, what are the pros to that? There's only going to be very, very few pros to this idea of being above market value. And that really is just finding that one crazy, unique buyer, that needle in the haystack buyer. So you showcase, you got one in a million to get that buyer. However, you want to give a large list of cons and reasons why not to list above market value. Buyers are going to reject the price. You're going to help the competition sell their home. You're going to be chasing the market. So understand that if you want to avoid them going into option number 1. Option number 2, this is where you have a balance approach. You're saying, okay, market value is this, and here's the pros, here's the cons, which are balanced out to each other. But the best strategy you want to use is, of course, below market value, even in today's market. See, Below market value, you have a ton of pros. You're going to receive maximum exposure for the home. You're going to, you speak directly to the seller, the buyers themselves. You have a chance. I'm not saying it's guaranteed, but a chance of receiving multiple offers. But more importantly than the price is you're also going to get terms. You're going to get the conditions being better for you. And of course, you still have to showcase that there's going to be a con. And the con would be there's no guarantee. There's absolutely no guarantee that you're even going to receive an offer, but the odds are in your favor. So, final thought would be of the three strategies above, at, or below market value, which option would you like to move forward with? Now, who's taking ownership now of the price? The seller is. The seller takes ownership of the price, not you. You're just sharing the information, but they're picking that price. Why is that a benefit for you? Well, down the road, if they decide to take a little bit higher, they had selected a price. So getting a price reduction is a lot easier because we used their price, not yours. So never ever take ownership of a price. Guide the consumer, but let them select the price. All right. So question number 5 of the listing presentation. Now, this is, in my opinion, your close. The last question in this presentation is considered your close. I call it the deer in the headlights close. So what we want to do is simply reassure the client that the decision that they're making to sell their home is the correct one. So to do that is we need to share 2 data points to create that clarity. Since this is, what is happening in the market is considered an opinion question. This is my opinion now. We need the data to justify the answer. If you don't use data and just give your opinion of what's happening in the market, they're not going to believe you. But if you use data points to share with the consumer, they will then believe you. And this is important. So one of the questions I would ask would be, or data points I would share with the consumer would be, how many homes are for sale in your MLS right now? So when you take a look at your MLS right now, how many homes are for sale? And I'm just going to use a wild number. I'm going to say there's 2,047 homes for sale in the MLS. It's a data point. Then, number 2, I'm going to share the average days on the market. Hey, right now we have 29 homes for sale. And once you share those 2 data points, I want you just to pause, look at them. And what you're going to notice is that deer in the headlights look. It's like, hey, what does that mean? What does that mean? And this is where you step in and you say, what that simply means is homes are not selling themselves right now. So the agent that you choose matters more than it has in the last few years. It's really depending on sitting on the market or getting it sold. Now, what you're doing is you're simply reaffirming to the client that you are the right agent for the job. You're making it known that the market, homes don't just sell themselves. Now, I'm going to give you a second one to use. And I don't have a slide for it, but maybe you can just write it down. Here's a second one you can use. So, deer in the headlights look, what does that mean? And you can just simply turn to the client and say, and again, we're going to use this one. If it's a market that is things are selling really well, or you know what, Danny, it's not a bad market here. We have a good market. So this is what I would use in this turn. So it'd be something like this. What that simply means, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, is that despite what you're hearing in the market, it is a great time to put your home on the market. That's it. It is a great time. You just need that reassurance. That's the purpose of sharing the data points, is when they look at you, what does that mean? It is a great time to put your home on the market. And then it leads us to our close. It's a great time to put your home on the market. And all we need to do now is sign the simple paperwork. so that I can help you get to Las Vegas by October so that you can start your new job. Won't that be great? And what we're doing now is we're going back to the motivation. Use their motivation in that last close. So, the 5 simple questions, my objectives are done. Simplify, systemize, and succeed. So, how do you build a great listing presentation that you are absolutely in love with and you can't wait to share everyone this presentation? It's easy. Just simply focus on the client and don't make it about you. Your goals will require a different version of yourself. So remember the sales wheel. Once you have the presentation, your next step, like once you've mastered that presentation, your next step is to memorize, rehearse, and internalize the presentation. Because that will then again give you confidence, which will give you more conversations, which will lead to more opportunities, more appointments, more contracts, and ultimately more closings. Thank you. I hope I shared some value and that and this will help you in your real estate business. Does anyone have any questions? Any questions at all? I'm gonna stop my share now.
You guys are welcome to unmute yourselves if you guys have questions or drop it in the chat. Frank, yes, we are recording it and we will share it with you guys.
No, I don't see any more questions.
Yeah, it looks like we're good to go.
All right, excellent. I hope this was useful. Thanks so much for having me here.
Awesome. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for joining. Thank you so much, Danny. That was a great presentation.
I appreciate it. Thanks so much.
Have a good one, everyone.
Thanks. Bye.